Hi, it's Amy. Um, I wanted to touch on something that I mentioned in my last video. So, in my last video, I was talking about how I love to learn and just take different classes and workshops and read different books and learn lots of things. Not because I think I'm missing anything or, um, need more tools to get where I want to go. I'm fully aware of my purpose and that I have everything that I need right now to fulfill that. And that doesn't stop me from learning because I love it. And you hear people talk about how, they've invested all this money in personal development or they've done all these workshops and nothing really sticks. And I would like to call bullshit on that. I would argue that no matter what you're learning, you're taking something away from that. And I think what happens is because we don't have an opportunity to use what we've learned immediately, it feels like, well, that was useless. But I disagree. So, a couple of examples from my own life. Several years ago, I took an art therapy class, like how to facilitate therapy through art. And I did it because I have been using art as my own sort of personal therapy for ages. It's my go-to proactive behavior is to create, to make something, to color, to paint, anything. So I was fascinated by this idea that you could use art to help others therapeutically. And the class was amazing. And I didn't facilitate any art therapy sessions from it, not a one. However, however, I did have a client who was very stuck. And she was very black and white. And it was really hard to get through to her because anything you suggested, she was immediately like, nope, that wouldn't work for me. And what I did was I used art to get her out of her black and white box. And it was a challenge. She fought me on it, like hard. But I eventually got her to just experiment a little bit. And I mean, simple. I had her make a collage. I had her make a collage that represented something that she wanted. And then we used the collage to dive into each of the pictures, and so much more of what she was feeling and experiencing came out in that process. And it was, I mean, we're talking years later, years, and it all came back to me because it was a tool that I had put in my toolbox, and I know that all of those tools support me. Whether I need them right now, whether I need them in 5 years and 10 years, they're there for me to use. Another example, excuse me, was I had a very clear vision, maybe 8 to 10 years ago, that part of my healing of others would require some sort of hands-on practice. So if you think about hands-on healing modalities, right? You've got massage and acupressure and chiropractic and all sorts of things. So I took a Reiki course and I thought, I'm really drawn to energy work and I'm having this vision that it's something hands-on, and those two things really come together beautifully in the practice of Reiki. So I took a Reiki class. And once again, I practiced a little bit afterwards, right, here and there, but I didn't like go out and start a Reiki practice. That wasn't what I was being called to do. I wanted to learn because it helped me to experience hands-on healing. And I knew that was part of what I would eventually do. So again, fast forward 5 or 6 years from this Reiki training that I did, and I started my shaman training. And part of that work is hands-on. And suddenly this Reiki that I had dabbled with but hadn't really been practicing continuously all came back. Also, in my shamanic practice, there's lots of looking at the chakras and balancing and decluttering and opening. And I had learned all of the chakras in my yoga teacher training, which again, I took yoga teacher training. I did teach a few classes to practice to see what I thought, but I didn't become a yoga teacher. But somehow intuitively, I knew that that training would support me, which it has tremendously. And I lean on that training continuously. If I had to pick something that I do go back to very often, it's that foundational yoga work that I did. So just because you're not taking a workshop or reading a book or taking a class and expecting to have some, overnight transformation, that doesn't happen. It doesn't mean you didn't get something. You have these tools, these experiences, these things that you can lean on when you need them. So when I hear people say, like, oh, well, I didn't get anything out of that, I'm not sure that's true. Even if you walked away from learning something knowing that that wasn't for you, you've gotten clearer on what is. Because sometimes something being a no is just as important as something else being a yes. Because you're narrowing your scope, you're getting closer to those yeses, you're getting closer to that purpose, closer to what you're meant to be and do by learning about yourself through these processes. So, this is why I love learning, and I do it continuously. If I'm not in a class learning something that way, I'm reading or I'm experimenting, and it can be really beautiful and magical. So go learn something. If you feel stuck, if you feel stagnant, if you just want to move or connect with people or do something a little bit different or just be fascinated by something you didn't know before, and don't let anyone tell you that, what are you doing that for? You're not going to use that. Or what about all of those other classes you took? Psh, ignore that stuff. Because this is about you and learning you. And learning you is the greatest learning that you can do. And I'll leave you with that.